This is CJSW's Municipal election coverage, your audio guide to Calgary's 2025 election. This series gives you interviews with candidates running for office, exploring the people, policies, and issues that will shape Calgary's future. We're broadcasting from CJSW 90.9 FM, located at the University of Calgary, on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. Before we begin, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Today, we're taking you to one of Calgary's most dynamic and diverse wards. Known for its rich history, urban renewal, and strong community spirit, today is all about Ward 9. Ward 9 stretches across some of Calgary's oldest neighbourhoods and fastest changing areas, bridging the inner city with vibrant residential zones. The communities included in Ward 9 are Park-Radisson Heights, Applewood Park, Belvedere, Bridgeland-Riverside, Dover, Erin Woods, Forest Heights, Forest Lawn, Inglewood, Manchester, Ogden, Penbrooke Meadows, Ramsay, Red Carpet, Renfrew, Southview, and also a number of industrial sites, including Foothills and Burns Industrial. We went directly to citizens of Ward 9 to ask them what they're feeling this election season.
Yeah, it's inner city. There's like the spray park right behind our house, pathways to walk, bike downtown. It's a vibe.
That's a fantastic area. Yeah.
Now that we've heard what's on the minds of Ward 9 residents, let's turn to the people hoping to represent them. We reached out to nominated candidates and trustees running in the 2025 general election to participate in this podcast. The following interviews feature only those candidates who responded and were available to participate within our production timeline. To ensure consistency, we selected about 1 minute of each candidate's response to include in this episode. The audio is presented unedited, and we've aimed to fairly represent each participant's message and voice. We remain committed to providing space for all voices and encourage voters to learn more about every candidate by visiting electionscalgary.ca. Veteran councillor Cholo Cabarroguis mentioned he would not be seeking re-election in the fall. He broke the news through his newsletter, Great Ward 9 Neighbours, starting the statement with, "It is with wistfulness, but also clear conviction and fierce pride, that I announce my decision not to seek a fifth term." Cabarroguis goes on to explain his frustrations with Calgary's political climate and how much has changed since he stepped into office in 2010. With Cabarroguis' absence, there is a vacant seat for Ward 9 hopefuls. Let's hear from the candidates themselves. We asked each of them the same set of questions to help you compare their priorities, values, and vision for Ward 9. On social services. What do you believe is the city's role in supporting vulnerable Calgarians through social services such as mental health support and harm reduction? From independent candidate Harrison Clark.
I think it's really important that we meet people where they are. And, sometimes in the process of trying to correct a problem in community for a neighborhood, we come in from out or above, and sort of push a process through that is not aligned with the way in which that community is living or thriving or surviving. And so I think it's really important that any investment moving forward really needs to come from within. And I think Calgary is of an age now, certainly in Ward 9, we've got communities that know themselves. They know their issues. They know their concerns. So we can meet them at that table and look at, options, what currently exists and what needs to exist. What routes do we what paths do we chart next, in terms of, but between the incredible amount of support within a community for itself and the community non-for-profit organizations that branch out across the city, there's plenty of support that we can tap into.
From independent candidate Marina Ortman.
Well, given my experience in last year in fighting for a swimming amenity that we have in Inglewood Pool, it shows that my support for social services is there. So social services is tied in the taxpayers' money, and the city actually, there are two levels of social provisions which are run through municipal and provincial. And I believe that the city has strong responsibility for providing social services, as it is with our taxpayers bracket, and we have and people need it. So that's my response. So I do support it.
Running with the Calgary Party, Ariana Kippers.
Well, I believe that as the vulnerable citizens in Calgary are closest to our municipal government, that we do need to support them through the resources that they need. They need compassion and care, and they are citizens of Calgary, and we should try to support them with whatever resources or connections we have available. We have many organizations that partner with the city or that partner with community to support vulnerable citizens through mental health, through recovery, through addiction. And again, because we are the closest to them, we should provide more supports, especially as that population number is growing. So it is Calgary's responsibility to help its citizens.
Running as an independent, Gargar.
Absolutely. I think the biggest part is looking into the vulnerability and homelessness. And I think how do we address it? For example, it's not one solution fits it all. And what I describe is also not focusing in one side. For example, a lot of times we are focusing more into Stephen Avenue. We are focusing more into downtown, which is great. But to have a greater city, it has to be the one that sees everything together. And building all one shoes fits it all doesn't work. So when you look into the vulnerability and homelessness, you see Ward 9, where a lot of vulnerable, actually homeless and vulnerable people are actually moving from there to Ward 9. There is a big role the city can play. It's not staying in your lane, but rather we have to look into it where we can build the relationship between the city, province, and federal in order to get it done. And we have to have a collaboration approach.
Running as a member of Communities First, Alison Karim McSweeney.
I believe that actually is a provincial responsibility. I think that there are certain things that we can do to alleviate people that are living unhoused, and we should try and help them. In the place that I work now, we do actually have a program where we are helping a number of the vulnerable people and actually helping to get them off the street. So I think it's a little bit convoluted right now because the social disorder and the issues that are having people live on the street are so abundant that we need to look at it holistically.
On affordable housing, what specific policies or initiatives would you support to improve housing affordability and accessibility in Calgary? From Harrison Clark.
And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that the folks that service our coffees at our favorite shops and work at our bookstores and those sorts of environments, they have a right to live in these communities too. This is an important fundamental piece of a thriving and complete community. And so we've got to do everything we can to make that so. And I've come forward with some interesting ideas that I would like to see explored. One of them being, we, in Ward 9 specifically, have a lot of legacy industrial space. So I would like to see that explored. I'd like to see it reclaimed and see if we can't find more space for more people. I mean, it's certainly urban living, and there's that interaction with industrial is a mainstay piece of a lot of these old neighborhoods anyway. So how do we expand within that? I think the other piece to remember is that Calgary is one of the largest landowning municipalities in the country. So we have plenty of land. How are we going to approach that? And I think in that instance, we have the opportunity to create cooperative housing models or sort of non-market opportunities. We've got great community partners that thrive or are excellent at building out these kinds of projects. And so let's invite them in.
From Marina Ortman.
What the question is, but like I said, we need to identify what affordable housing is, right? Because a lot of developments have been pushed in the name of it. But at the end of the day, when development is finished, it's not affordable. What you think? You know what? People still can't afford it. So we need to work with. My understanding is CMHC puts out the affordability. Affordable housing definition is it's based on your income and it's based on where you're living at this moment. Now, with the what my position on affordable housing is, we need to work on it, and we actually need to create. We need to identify. We need to stand with a clear definition of what it is. And if we say we're going to build affordable housing, we actually need to build it, as opposed to push developments in the name of it, but then at the end, when it's done, it's not affordable. So that's where responsibility of the city and the council is at the moment, how I see it.
From Ariana Kippers.
Thank you for that question. It's really important, and I hear about it every day. Calgary is becoming less affordable, especially for our seniors and our folks who built this city. They're struggling to stay here. And I was born in Calgary. I want to live here, and I want my children to. I want many generations to stay. And we need to look at housing differently. We have this view in our mind of what type of home we need to live in, and that has changed over the last 30 years, and we have to provide options so that folks can stay in their community, but maybe smaller home, smaller property size. And so I think that we need to work with residents, constituents, developers, and the city to provide those options in every community so that seniors can age in place, they can stay in the places that they know and love, and young adults who are trying to get into the housing market can find affordable housing in communities that they grew up in.
From Gargar.
I think it's just one topic that actually my main platform becomes on affordability, and Calgary and Ward 9, that is affordable for all. And to do that, I think we have to be able to build homes that Calgarians can actually afford. We have no way, and to do that also, we have to see how do we accelerate those development and not taking so much time, because even the timeline affects everything, but also looking into it is not only building those duplexes. So blanket rezoning has failed with that because actually it builds homes that are more expensive than what we have. What we need to do is building mix, building also a single homes, but also the biggest key is actually having the opportunity to have those approval process quicker, so then those developers can get to work, but also working with the community. Blanket rezoning failed all those three. What I will do, is it affordable, is it accessible, and is it built with the community, and are we building them faster?
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I think currently the program is not, I think it needs to be tweaked a little. I would personally like to see, and this will really depend on what the ward constituents believe, because that's ultimately who I will be actually representing. So it really is going to depend on them. But I really believe that we need to expand attainable housing. And the difference between attainable housing and affordable housing is it actually allows people to purchase a home, get it at a very reasonable rate, and be able to live in that home. Then if they sell it, they're selling it back to the attainable homes and giving someone else an opportunity. What I like about that is it's people actually living in the community. Too often when we have a number of affordable rentals, it's run by a landlord that may not be that community oriented, and sometimes it actually is a detriment to some of the communities. But affordable housing, I think it would be nice if all new builds that are apartments have 20% affordable housing. Doesn't matter what the apartment is, do 20%.
On transportation, What is your vision for improving traffic flow and public transit in your ward and across the city? From Harrison Clark.
So this is one of the most exciting things about this election and about Ward 9 specifically, because Ward 9 will be the first inner city ward that will see Green Line stations built. And so we have a real opportunity to reimagine and decide together what that interconnectivity piece looks like when you're traveling to these stations, and it's going to be through every mode of transport. In the inner city, we see a massive diversity in the way in which people move. And it's exciting. I mean, it's emerging, these like single wheel machines, that look so fun, and scooters and bikes and mobility scooters and mobility aids of all kinds. And so that becomes really important. We're at the precipice of great change. And so how do we meet that in a way that will suit us over the next many years? That feels really important.
From Marina Ortman.
Transportation is important, is vital, and we have a number of issues. We have ridership issues. We have coming from council meetings and the like. Like I said, transportation is important, right? We want more people to take transit, but transit is not safe. So we have people using on the buses, sleeping on the buses, or using it as a bathroom, as a toilet, right? There's a lot of issues to deal with as well. For the city of this size, we need transportation to work, to be safe, and to actually bring you where you need to be on time. So again, we need to assess how transportation is. I mean, I do have a basic understanding of it, but once we're going to be coming in a role, this will be number one, because people, they can use it, they just won't, because there is just not safe, and it's just not taking you anywhere. So that needs to be worked on.
From Ariana Kippers.
We have grown as a city, exponentially, and we have not kept up with that. If we are concerned about traffic and the amount of cars on the road, then we need to provide other alternative options for people to get around. So that means having a more reliable transit system, having more trains available throughout the city, and also providing other modes of transportation or other corridors. So using bike lanes. It's not just for cyclists, also scooters and people in wheelchairs or other mobile devices. But we need to, if we provide those options and we are looking outside of the box of cars, then we can help decrease that congestion on our roads, which will make them last a little longer and make it a little more enjoyable for all.
From Gargar.
Absolutely. I think when we see Ward 9 is a blue-collar ward where it stays with the hard-working Calgarians that, depending on either their cars when they're going all the way to High River, but depending on transportation, our transportation is not working. And to do that, we have to make it efficient, effective, and on timely manner. And I think that starts with actually looking into the whole transportation. So I always say we have to build a transportation that works for all Calgarians, but also seeing the routes. Sometimes you have I used to take bus number 1, but in order to go to St. Anne, which is in Inglewood, I have to come all the way to downtown, then take another 24. We have to actually build those effective transportation, but even for students, which routes that goes to the students so they can go from their home to school, the same way, which routes that takes someone from their home to work. And I think that's something that I would like to see. We have to fix our transportation, but also the transportation also have a big problem with the safety. We see transit officers being assaulted. This is something that bring effect, and we have to also help those transit officers.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I think there's various means of transportation that people utilize. So I am supportive of bike lanes, but I think that we can do things a little bit differently. I think the ones that exist are great. They work for a number of people. They may not work for everyone, but we are trying to accommodate many users. In our particular area where I've worked for almost 30 years, we advocated for BRT and also wider sidewalks to ensure that people could actually use the sidewalks comfortably, and we also incorporated bikes that could also go onto those sidewalks. I think that we have to be, it would be nice if people could utilize transit and know that transit's safe, that it's affordable, and also it's frequent. I think that that would really help in terms of traffic flow. And also there's the reality that there's a lot of people that are just going to drive to work, and that's just, I guess, the way it is. My concern is we have incredible amount of sprawl in this city, and the more we continue to add new communities, the more the transportation issues will be exacerbated.
On public safety, how would you balance community safety with calls for accountability and reform in our police, fire, and emergency services? From Harrison Clark.
And it's important to acknowledge that there's a difference between sort of crime and social disorder, and that our approach as city needs to be sort of diverse and meet those individual needs. And so I think I've proposed that we sort of look at our non-enforcement opportunities with police and some of these services in community to help bridge and build better connection to the communities that these folks are there to serve. And so I'd love to see an expansion of our community resource officers program. And with that, I think there's a number of opportunities, yet again, to expand on that non-enforcement approach. I think we all have a similar goal in terms of creating a safe environment for everybody. I think it sometimes get lost in the way in which we decide to do it. And I think so if we can begin that conversation again, in the current circumstances we find ourselves with the problems as they are today, we might be able to move forward and find a bit more balance.
From Marina Ortman.
I don't know if defunding police is the answer to defunding is not the answer to issues. I think we need to, I know there have been some studies done and there's a low morale within police department itself. I believe we need to look in what's happening within those services, because when everybody runs out of the door, these people run in to deal with situation. And if there is a low morale happening right now, we need to know what's going on really. So I understand there's problems everywhere, but like I said, defunding is not an answer. The answer is to further work with the services and see where of assistance we can be, and work on situations that are that require attention from these departments, but they are very much needed, and we need to work together on that.
From Ariana Kippers.
It is a dynamic and diverse challenge, but we do have the resources available, and we need to make sure that our organizations have the funding that they need to get to a fire in time. The police officers are holding individuals accountable for breaking the law, like speeding and not stopping at stop signs. And then for community safety, we want our communities to be beautiful, and we want our communities to have the character that it's had. And we need to educate through bylaw officers to those residents who are falling behind. And so there's a lot to do, but safety is number one. And I do believe that if we can fund those organizations and empower them, then we can achieve safer communities across Calgary.
From Gargar.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest part is I'm even worried when I see my 16 years old want to take bus and transit for something to happen. So I think it's not only about the ridership, but having a safe ridership that Calgarians can ride. So this is the biggest impact that we have to address in order for people to take those transportation. The other one, we have seen also more services need with the complexities of issues that are coming up, but even we are the lowest one with the police per capita. What I need to see is adding more police officers, but also looking into it, for example, Forceland, which used to have the police and bikes. We need to bring those back. We need to bring also more officers to have those community relationship, to have those diversity part, and then to have also community policing in front line. So back in short, I think we need to increase our police. We are right now running so much problem with less.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I have done so much work in this area, and I do have to say that I think there's a lot of issues. I do believe it's really hard to have a safe community when you don't have enough manpower in the police force. Where I'm working currently, we have our own security team. We also have our vulnerable team that is helping. When we are actually looking at what the huge issues are that people are experiencing, we're able to try and help them as much as possible. But I know that the police service, bylaw, protection services, all those are totally overstrained, and we need to correct that. We need more manpower to deal with the issues, and there is a lot of crime out there right now.
On environment. How would you approach environmental sustainability in Calgary, particularly around land development, waste management, and water conservation? From Harrison Clark.
As it relates to land development, I think it's really important that as we clear space for new builds, that we acknowledge that natural environment that exists. So I'm encouraging through the policy document that I put forward that our developers are partners in our community. And so I would love to see them commit to net positive growth in that urban environment. With tree planting and urban forestry, we've got a number of non-for-profit organizations and city-led programs that are looking at reforestation and growing that canopy out. So that feels really important. As it relates to waste management, I have to say I'm very proud of the City of Calgary. I think our composting initiatives are very strong. In the instance of water conservation, this has to become more and more of a priority, I think, across the city. We saw what happens when our infrastructure fails us. Lots of gardeners were left in a lurch, but certainly, it caused issues, and it was an opportunity to take pause and acknowledge our relationship with water. So I'd love to see an expansion of rain barrels and make that an accessible option for more Calgarians.
From Marina Ortman.
With the environmental, I've always been outspoken for the green space, preserving green space. And I understand that the City Council actually voted for a climate emergency, but it's also at the same time disposing of green space, like it's going out of fashion, which I don't understand that, because on one end we are trying to preserve it, and on the other hand we are selling it off for redevelopment, which actually is further just speaks to the environmental, not emergency, but how should I answer that? I'm getting a little off track here. Not environmental emergency, but well, yes. I mean, right now what's happening here is basically the position of the council, actually, the action contradicts the position. And I'm a firm believer that environmental, the green space is the only thing that, well, not the only thing, but one of the number one that we need to preserve and keep on fighting preserving it. So that's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. From Ariana Kippers.
I think there are many opportunities to support sustainable practices throughout the city. I myself have taken on many changes in my everyday life to make better choices for the environment. There are lots of, again, great organizations that can help teach people, and I, as an educator, would also utilize the city and the resources through social media or mail-outs to educate more folks on how to conserve water, reusing water in your garden, flushing less, and also just a bit more training on sorting through products to ensure it's going into the right bin. I think there's a misunderstanding of what needs to be done, or just lack of knowledge, and the city can use its resources to educate folks so that we are all contributing to saving our planet for future generations that will come past us.
From Gargar.
I think it's a big topic because lately we saw the biggest rain in Calgary. And I think even looking into it, it's looking into the blanket rezoning. For example, also how do we have those infrastructures and how do we get things right at first so later on we don't have to come and then see things happening. For example, also the flood that has happened taught us a lot of lessons. We have a big a big place that was basically built in Force Height to make sure the water drainage is going there. So when we build those densities, sometimes there are some places like Inglewood and Ramsay where before they said even the heat can be down on the stairs because of those floods mitigation. So we have to look into it. And it comes basically in getting things done right at first before 30 years to come.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I think that we need to make sure that we have LEED Platinum buildings wherever possible. I'm very concerned about the tree canopy and what blanket rezoning is doing to that. I did talk to someone in the Renfrew community, and they had a significant new build going next door to them, and they actually cut down 10 trees. The tree canopy is so important. And also just other things that I think we can do is ensure that we try and utilize solar, also natural gas for buses, a number of other things that we can do. And certainly it is a federal responsibility, but I do think that there's certain things that we can do as well as citizens to try and make sure that our impact on the environment is lessened.
On education. While education is largely a provincial responsibility, how do you see the city collaborating with school boards to support accessible and quality education in your ward? From Harrison Clark.
I think that the city has an opportunity to engage youth in a number of ways. Certainly through the school system is an excellent place to start. I think that the city needs to support its youth in finding space to, recreate and enjoy life and create safe environments where they can build community for themselves. We've seen the outcomes for youth in terms of crime and that sort of thing. When young people have places to go and things to do, we can really have an impact on that safety piece that we talked about earlier. And so I would love to see for our inner city communities of Ward 9 more space available to them. And I think, I know that doesn't necessarily directly relate to school on its nose, but there is an opportunity probably through school lands and that relationship with CBE to engage youth that way.
From Marina Ortman.
I understand education is provincial, but when we have a 9-year-old that cannot read, what is happening here? Why is this actually taking place? We have we talk about housing and all and environmental. We have a bigger problem coming. So to that, of course, it makes me think how we can encourage education and within my ward. So currently, I'm talking to some schools, and we have to make education wanted, right? So we almost have to make it fashionable, I guess, in a way, right? So kids actually want to do it. So currently we are working with a number of people on creating learn by example, right? So we want to create the programs that actually will spark interest of the kids, because making them want it, we can't. We have to create something that will work. So currently, I don't have a straight answer for you right now. All I'm saying is I know the issue, and we are working on certain programs to actually integrate that in different communities.
From Ariana Kippers.
So I have been involved in the education system as an early childhood educator and on the board of many schools, and as well as community associations. So there is an opportunity, and I love this question, to collaborate amongst the school board, community association, and other groups in community. In Dover specifically, one of our schools will take their children to the community garden, and they will walk there. So they are getting exercise in the summer. Then they're learning how to grow food, how to respect land, and how to clean up along the way to take care of it. We can partner with those organizations and partners in the in the community to enhance the learning that happens at home. And it also creates a sense of joy for the children, but also pride in their community because they know their communities, they know their streets because they're walking in it, and they get to connect with some of the seniors and elders and learn some skills that may have been lost, such as gardening.
From Gargar.
Absolutely. As a youth advocate and as a community advocate, I saw the biggest role that we play from the community and the city, where sometimes we will actually go back. School is where kids learn, but also even we used to rent, we used to rent those gyms to get kids back and stay away from trouble. This is something that on the recreational side, we can actually build those momentum where those kids can go back and have a greater memories by playing in the communities. Ward 9 has the lowest recreational spaces, and that's something that we can do between the recreation, education, and that comes in. I don't believe into the notion of having one shoes fits it all, but also having the community coming in and having the city taking role. If I get elected, I would like to see recreation being built back with the city, where those schools also becomes a recreational space for those kids to come back in.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I'm not actually sure about that. I think that that would be where I definitely would look to the ward residents on what they would like to see. I don't feel that I'm very well educated in that regard, and so I definitely would look for guidance from the ward itself.
On arts and culture. How will you support local arts and culture as a part of Calgary's identity? From Harrison Clark.
I think that arts and culture is an important part of life in any city, particularly in Ward 9. I feel very lucky to have a lot of historic arts communities embedded in those communities. And as somebody who, myself, I support myself through artistic work, I would say. I work in the restoration business. I restore antiques. I represent objects for sale in an artistic way. We've done many collaborations with local artists. So it's imperative that we not only maintain what exists in this ecosystem, but that we expand upon it. And I think in many ways, as we look at these older neighborhoods, the economic drives that are available to them through supporting arts and culture can't be overlooked.
From Marina Ortman.
Very good question. Well, I'm actually an artist myself and a designer, and it hurts me personally when I see the art that is being brought to Calgary that is from different country, different provinces. I can live with province, but we have so many talented people here. Why are we overlooking them? Why are we not supporting what we have? Seriously, we have the most amazing crowd, artisans and artists. I am full forward. Actually, I'm not sure if that's on my platform, but I will support for promoting local art because we have so much of it and we don't know nothing about it and we have to know it. So, yes, absolutely, my full support on that.
From Ariana Kippers.
Yeah, I think this is a really important question right now. We have a lot of talented folks in Calgary, especially the youth coming up. They have a lot to share and we need to elevate their voices. And so what I would like to see the city do is engage more with the schools and places where youth are, young adults, so that we can go and invite them or show them these opportunities that are available. There's been lots of painted electrical boxes in Dover, and they're beautiful. It creates vibrant communities, and I think if we can get that information out to schools, organizations, after-school clubs, then we can help foster, or we can help grow that artistic spirit in our youth and get them more engaged in community, which benefits everyone. We have created a lot of beautiful art in Calgary, some questionable that people like to talk about, but I would prefer to highlight the beautiful painted art and the enhancements that we've put in over the last couple years and continue to grow that in Calgary with all of the talent that we have here.
From Gargar.
Absolutely. I think it comes back to the notion of taking a village to raise a child. And I think Calgary has become this vibrant city that it comes with different cultures, different arts and perspective. One thing that I would like to see in Ward 9 is building with the community and asking the community what kind of sense of that belonging. But coming back from the cultural, how I heard stories from Forestland when it used to be a town. Nobody knows about that. Sometimes as those communities people come in, they see them as a stopping point. What I need to do is places like Forestland, Ramsay, Ogden, Inglewood, what are actually the histories, and take from the historical site and heritage to the art and culture.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I have always brought, when I first started my job on International Avenue, there was no art east of Deerfoot. And I found that really problematic. I feel that art is available and should be available for everyone. So part of my work was actually bringing art to East Calgary. I am very proud to say that now we have 55 pieces of art on 17th Avenue alone. We have tried to incorporate local artists. So the artists themselves are getting the uplift, the economic uplift. I think we need to support local arts in all different genres. I'm obviously very supportive of the music industry and all artists in general. We also worked really hard to bring in an art center that was able to incorporate a connection point for so many artists in East Calgary.
On community. In what ways do you try to give back to your community? From Harrison Clark.
This always that's a very emotional question, right? Because it's how do you serve? And I think I've always tried to practice service in every aspect of my life. And so I love that my business is independent. It's a creative space where people can come and hang out, pull books off the shelves and learn about something, spend time and talk about furniture and, our relationship with things. I think that's really fun. And through the process of campaigning over the last 7 months, it's now July, so by the time this is heard, who knows how long it'll be on the road. But it's been wonderful to listen. It's been wonderful to hear what people have to say and to try and articulate that into action. Because that's what everybody's looking for at this point is, and so to listen has been, I think, one of the most fundamental things I've been able to do for the last 7 months.
From Marina Ortman.
When people unite, the energy and the power is actually quite admirable. For example, Inglewood Pool, residents raised funds to convert it into indoor pool. So they actually raised about $22,000 back in 1965, which was a lot of money. I always say that, community is everything. We're nothing without them. And in each ward, the way it's divided, right? Communities are very different. But what I want to see is communities actually join and work together, because we should refer to wards as yes, it is diverse, but yet it can be united in its vision for its ward, right? Because we all want the same thing in a way. And what I see is working together with community associations, right? Bring them together and show them that in unity we can achieve greater things.
From Ariana Kippers.
Ways that I give back to my community are through sharing information and resources available to them. That's kind of how I got started, was by helping folks through the challenges that they were in at that time. We have done music shows that were, free to all residents. And so it provided an opportunity for folks to come out of their home, come and connect with their neighbors and hear some local talent here in Calgary. We also invite all of, any local businesses, small businesses, to come out and sell their goods in the garden for free. We don't charge anything because we know it's hard to make a buck. So we're not going to charge to set up, but they can come sell their goods and connect with community. Community is so important. It was very strong growing up for me in Temple, and I want to bring that excitement and vibrancy back. I think that.
From Gargar.
Absolutely. I started giving back from 20 years ago until today, and I never looked back. I think I always say Calgary and Canada has chose me, but I just came to find out that actually I chose. The first time I came, 17 years old, with no English, I had my neighbor who gave me a bike. That changed my whole life and got me to take this as a home. And since then, every day I wake up in the morning to try to give back, anywhere from being as the president of Forest Lawn Community Association, youth advocate, where we had got the first youth center in Forest Lawn, to actually being a SEITSA student association, where we had to advocate, to actually being part of the Alberta Ministry of Education Board of Attendance, to being also part of SAIT Board of Governance. All of these have given me different kind. The best one is always having to be with the community.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I have been actually always very collaborative with the community that I work with. I often am called because they're concerned that they're not getting what they want from the city currently now, or they're having issues, they're not getting good representation. So they do call me and ask me to help. I do try and help as much as I can. And often because I have 25 years experience, I do know a lot of people at the city and a lot of the different departments. But community is really what people want it to be. So many people have, I guess, different definitions of what community is to them. We have many different cultural communities. We have many physical neighborhood communities. And I just think it really needs to, if there's decisions that are being made about a specific community, that community needs to have a very strong voice there, and they need to be heard.
We note that Indigenous groups have their own bodies of governance, but as we are on shared land, we dedicated a question to decolonization. What is your understanding of Calgary's responsibilities under the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action? From Harrison Clark.
If we look at Ward 9 specifically, this is the oldest part of the city. This is where this is where we settled. And so there's plenty of opportunity, and certainly already, organizations representing Indigenous groups and Indigenous people within Ward 9 that have deep roots here within the settlement process as well. I mean, they lived in these communities for generations, and so they are always welcome at my table. I mean, it's a conversation I would be there to support, certainly.
From Marina Ortman.
I have a lot of friends who are from Indigenous communities, and I have actually making the point of meeting with leaders in Indigenous communities as well, because I'd like to learn more. Yes, I graduated University of Calgary here. I have a basic understanding, but I also want to learn what it is that how the cultures were handled. I understand there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of reconciliation still to do, and I'd like to know where we're standing at today on this issue, and then work with communities, because again, going back to my premise is a partnership you can trust. So I want to listen to you. I want to stand with you, and I want to work with you in a partnership because that's the only way we can fix things if we want to get to it together.
From Ariana Kippers.
So I know that Calgary has a responsibility to uphold the calls to action in the White Goose report. I know that they have made some progress in bringing in Indigenous voices and advocating for Indigenous folks. We're seeing a lot of organizations partnering, creating housing so that some of our most vulnerable do have access to housing that is culturally appropriate. But I do think that there is still opportunity to grow that, especially within administration. We do not, from what I can see, we do not have our blinders off completely, and we need to take a full view and think about how does this...
From Gargar.
I think every Calgarian has that opportunity to create the community, but to make a change. The first time that I saw it, for example, it's having the opportunity to learn new culture, new language, new words, but it's even looking into it as the holistics. When somebody takes a Canadian citizen, sometimes you are giving a snapshot, but this could be through even when somebody's learning English as a second language. I think we have different opportunities to bring things and ask ourselves as a Calgarians. And I see that so much in Calgarians. When we ask about bikes, we had so many people donating them. When we ask about computers, we had so many people donating them. When we give Calgarians to be able to step forward, to learn, and to have those recommendations, it builds a community. In Ward 9, we do know that so many Indigenous friends and families and community members live there. If you take time as a community member to learn, you will learn, and you will learn new cultures, new language. On the city level, I think we have to take our commitment also to see how do we...
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I believe it's the White Goose Report, and I think that the city is trying very hard to follow most of those recommendations, and I think that they've done a good job in that regard. I also know that they have an Indigenous liaison and a lot of different work with that, and that they are working with key stakeholders. So I'm not really sure what I can add to that. I think that the city's doing the best they can in that respect.
Finally, we gave each candidate a moment to share any closing remarks. From Harrison Clark.
My name's Harrison Clark. I'm your independent candidate for Ward 9 in this October's municipal election. I have been campaigning now for 7 months at the timing of this recording, and by the time you get to the polls, I will have been on the trail for a year. I am totally amazed by the stories that have come forward through this experience. I have learned so much about these neighborhoods, and I think that all of the residents in all of the neighborhoods of Ward 9 can collectively take a great big deep breath as we approach this fall's election, because we're about to open a new conversation. New pathways are going to come up, new ideas, and the future really is ours. And so I hope that you take the time to review what people are suggesting, what they're saying, and get engaged in this process, because at a municipal level, things can change faster than at any other level. And we have more power here than in, throwing these ideas at the province or the federal government. It's in our communities. This is where it begins. And so I really hope that you get involved. And if you'd give your independent candidates a few more seconds of your time, I think that's a valuable thing this election as well.
From Marina Ortman.
I guess, people want to know why I'm running, and here's why. Given, again, I'm going to bring the pool because that's the latest one. That's still on everybody's mind. What I have experienced with why I put up a fight for it and why I started engaging people in this effort. Because I have friends who are blind, who are from Canadian Council of the Blind. I have friends who are seniors. I have friends who are amputees. And, a lot of these people actually using this amenity, and then they felt this closure of the community would marginalize them by the city. Do you know what I mean? They are not heard. And then, in fact, when I started fighting for them, because I knew nobody else would stand up for them, I was being marginalized myself. And I felt, it's just not right. City cannot treat these people like that, because everybody is equal under the sun here, and everybody deserves the same. So, not the same, but equal, right? So, what made me want to run is I can see where where the problem lies, and I know I'm strong and able to deal with it, and I will always stand with the people. That will never change for me, because it's either we all matter or no one matters. So that's where I'm standing at.
From Ariana Kippers.
I am a community and people-oriented person. I am not a politician, but I care about people first, and I will work amongst partners and groups and the most vulnerable to lift up their voices and make sure that we are bringing change that benefits them. I've done a lot of work in community, and I'm very proud of what we've achieved and how we have created a new sense of community in Dover, and I want to work across neighbors and communities in Ward 9 to rebuild that trust. We have a lot of folks who have a lot of amazing skills and talent and knowledge, and I want to bring them alongside me for this journey because I'm not an expert, but I will willing to put my hand up and advocate for them. And so my ask is that you trust me that I will do what is right by you and community. Join me, make sure that we are being held accountable and we are making choices that are going to benefit us, not just for now, but again, for many generations, because we need to think about what's important in our lives and what we want in our future. I'm excited to be running, especially with this team of folks who bring different skills under the Calgary Party. And I think it's a really great opportunity for Calgary to elect people who care about humans first and want to make Calgary a great city that we all know it is.
From Gargar.
In the community, with the community, build a community that people can stay for the next 30 years. The other part is seeing homelessness. We were pushing one shoes fits it all and a push program where we saw all the vulnerables are going to Ward 9 and drifting as far as Belvedere, yet we did not see any help and support. I would like to see that voice and resources and a true engagement. What I wanted to do is bring the city to the community through something called community conversation, councillor community conversation, and through even an attempt to take the city hall office back to constituency office, where the community not only calling 311, but being able to walk on their councillor's office and being able to get things done. For this, I believe that's why I'm running. For the past 15 years, I was given this opportunity to serve. I'm hoping to bring that voice as a community service to Calgary.
From Allison Karim McSweeney.
I actually would just like to say that this is great. This is the reason why community radio and university radio and alternative independent radio is so important, because we're losing quality journalism. And places like CJSW are so crucial to the music scene, but also to the community overall. So thanks for doing this, Emma. I appreciate it.
That wraps up our conversations with your ward candidates. We hope their insights help you feel more informed heading into the 2025 general election. Now, we're shifting our focus to another important group of elected officials, school board trustees. Trustees play a critical role in shaping the direction of public education. They're responsible for setting priorities, approving budgets, and making decisions that impact students, families, and communities across their school jurisdictions. While their work often happens behind the scenes, it has a direct effect on the quality of education in Calgary. Just like councillors, trustees are elected during the municipal election. To find out which board you vote for, whether it's the Calgary Board of Education, Calgary Catholic School District, or another publicly funded board, you can visit electionscalgary.ca and use the Where Do I Vote tool. We reached out to all nominated trustee candidates running in this ward, inviting them to participate in this podcast. The interviews you're about to hear include only those candidates who responded and were available within our production timeline. To keep things fair and concise, we've selected about 1 minute from each candidate's response. The audio is presented unedited, and we've done our best to ensure every participant's voice is clearly and accurately represented. Let's now hear from the trustee candidates running in this ward. What are your top 3 priorities for Calgary schools, and how do you plan to address them during your term? Running as a public school board trustee candidate, John Nishimura.
Well, my top 3 priorities would be funding. School fees are far too high, and there is a waiver you can apply for through Calgary Board of Education, but I think that the annual income for the household is too low to qualify for that. So I'd like to get that raised up a bit. I want to try to address the bullying issues that have been constant in public schooling since I went to public school way back, and making a safe environment for all students, regardless of their family situation and their identity and who they are and where they come from.
Running as a public school board trustee candidate, Susan Vukadinovich.
My number 1 priority is that we need funding that keeps up with the growth that we've had at the Calgary Board of Education. School boards across Alberta have had to deal with flat funding for the past 6 years. In the meantime, the price of everything has gone up. And this means that we've had 6 straight years of doing more with less, and it's not sustainable in the long term. We have some of the best outcomes in the country at the Calgary Board of Education, and the way to protect and invest in that is for funding to be brought up to the average level that we see in the rest of the country. And in order to bring per student funding up to the level in Alberta that we see in the rest of the country, we would have to see the provincial government increase funding for K-12 education across the entire province by $1 billion at current enrollment levels. So that is the gap that we have right now. So that is my number 1 issue, is we need a board of trustees that can advocate successfully with the provincial government, that can make the business case with the provincial government that Alberta's prosperity depends on an increase to the student funding formula in Alberta.
How will you ensure equitable access to quality education for students across all communities, including those from marginalized or underserved backgrounds? From John Nishimura.
I just want to see more community. I believe that whether you're the star quarterback on the football team or you're the 3rd clarinet player in the grade 7 band, you all need a safe environment. You could be in the chess club. I think that creating community within the schools would help with that. Maybe some outreach that is mandatory for doing those extracurricular activities. Like 2 people from each of those extracurricular groups get together and do a food drive or something for marginalized.
From Susan Vukadinovich.
I am proud that at the CBE we accept every single student and that we serve every student every day. And I see this when I go visit schools, when I meet with parents at parent councils in the evenings, when I'm at high school graduations. That is the core of what CBE is and does, is that we provide equitable access to every single student. So what I would do to ensure that is just reassure the voters of Calgary that is a commitment that I hold strongly to my heart. It is a commitment that I already see playing out at the CBE. There's always room for improvement, but we have to start with the starting point that the CBE is the school board in Calgary that will accept every single student. There is no student who is turned away. We will always find a spot for every student. And I'm very proud of some of the breadth and depth of programs that we offer at the CBE.
How will you engage with parents, teachers, and students, and the broader community to ensure transparency and responsiveness in decision-making? From John Nishimura.
it's not as easy as it sounds to be a trustee. There's certain things that, like, I can't even just show up at a school. I have to be invited to a school to go visit them. So the school administrators have to go through the superintendent of the area, and the superintendent has to come to me. Like, they say the superintendent of the CBE is the only employee that we actually have dealings with. So everything has to go through the superintendent. So the transparency, I would be answering phone calls and emails personally and not giving the standardized response in emails. I love to engage with the parents and the students, as well as the teachers. I'm all for teacher salaries, and that includes educational assistant.
From Susan Vukadinovich.
Have a look at the CBE's website, Google CBE trustee. We have all of our contact information is posted right there online for anyone in Calgary to reach out to us, whether you're a parent, a guardian, or just an interested member of the public. Reach out to your school board trustee, because that's what public education is about. It's about reflecting back the public. It's about the public involvement in public education. So I always encourage folks to reach out to me. And then the final piece I'll say too, when you're asking me about transparency and responsiveness and accountability, is that because we are a publicly elected board, we hold public board meetings. And every single one of our board meetings are recorded. The YouTube videos of that are available online. Folks can go back as far as they like, and they can have a look at the minutes of every single public board meeting, that's for sure, are available. And then as well, the recordings, if people want to listen to the actual recordings to hear the actual debate. So we are very committed to accountability and transparency as a board. And personally, as a trustee, I am also very committed to being responsive and engaging with parents, guardians, and all Calgarians.
What is your position on the role of schools in addressing issues such as mental health, inclusion, and anti-racism? How would you support initiatives in these areas? From John Nishimura.
I'm all for it. I'm so inclusive. I have a son that is transgender. I believe that the overreach of the current provincial government is way out of line. So I am fighting for all those kids. I'm fighting for racialized kids. I really don't like. I'm not a big fan of the term BIPOC. I think that because we're all racialized, and that kind of groups us all together when we're racialized for different reasons.
From Susan Vukadinovich.
Certainly school boards do have a role in supporting mental health of students, supporting the inclusion of students, and supporting anti-racism initiatives at the schools, at our schools. And actually, if you Google CBE and any one of those three words, then you'll actually see a web page that will come up that will, for each of those areas that you mentioned, that will explain in far detail than I could in a podcast about some of the many initiatives and programs. And that's the thing, right? These are important issues at a societal level. It's not one thing, it's a constant commitment. And you can see that we have that commitment to the mental health of our students, to inclusive spaces, to nurturing a sense of belonging and community in our schools, and to making sure that our schools are a place where everyone feels welcome and everyone feels like this is their place.
With ongoing concerns about education funding and class sizes in Alberta, how will you advocate for the resources schools need while working within budget constraints? From John Nishimura.
Well, that's one of the biggest things. We need more money in public schooling. There's no doubt about it. We can build all the schools we want, but if we have no teachers to fund to fill those, the classroom sizes are not going to decrease. We need more teachers. We need more EAs. We need more staff, period. The book ban that they just did, would not be happening if there wasn't budget cuts all the time. There used to be a well-staffed committee to go over the books. That doesn't happen anymore. It's a couple of teachers that are appointed by the principal, and they have far too many books to look at.
From Susan Vukadinovich.
Well, at the CBE, we always work with what we get. So we do not ever run a deficit budget. We always find a way to work with what we get. The number one thing, though, that I have to do as a trustee is to try to work on that crucial piece of convincing the provincial government to increase the per-student funding in Alberta. There are different ways to go about that, and the way our current board is going about that, and it's a way that I support wholeheartedly, is to work collegially with our elected officials at the provincial government level. As trustees, we have opportunities to meet in person with the Minister of Education and Childcare. We have opportunities to meet in person with the Premier. We have opportunities to meet in person with the MLAs. That's where we do our advocacy, is at that one-on-one level. The other piece that we do as well is that we try to get out in community and meet with folks across the province, across the city.
Is there anything else you want people to know? From John Nishimura.
Just the community. I'm an outside of the box thinker. I was a bit of a jock in high school. My kid was a total drama kid. Well, he's queer, so that almost makes sense. So I've seen both sides of it. I was racialized as a kid going to school. I was bullied. Became a bully. I used homophobic slurs all the time, and until grade 8 when I had a gay teacher, and that totally turned my life around. I just thought inclusion has to start early and without a doubt. It's got to, if we can get the kids in grade 4 to 6 learning about community and the differences in people, then it's going to continue on throughout their whole.
From Susan Vukadinovich.
Well, I wanted to add that I am so proud of schools in Calgary, the Calgary Board of Education schools, because of that sense of community that kids get from attending schools where they, especially kids who are lucky enough to be able to have a school that's walking distance in their neighborhood. That's amazing to be able to walk to and from school. It's what generations of Calgarians have had, and it's something that's still important. We've been working really hard to advocate for new schools at the Calgary Board of Education, and during my first 4-year term, the CBE got approvals for 15 school projects in new neighborhoods, and we're also reopening one new school in the core. So I'm very proud that we are increasing the number of community schools in Calgary, and if I am reelected, then I want to advocate for additional schools to be built in Calgary. In fact, we have 14 additional school projects on our capital plan requests in 2026. And if I am reelected, I'm committed to advocating for all 14 of those additional school projects to be approved.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of CJSW's Municipal Election Coverage. I hope today's conversation brought you a little closer to your community and the people who want to lead it. I'm your host, Emma, and all of the source material for this episode can be found in the episode description. Remember to visit electionscalgary.ca for more information on every candidate and to check your voter registration. Again, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Make sure to visit cjsw.com or the CJSW app to check out our voter education episode and our exclusive mayoral debate. Until then, take care, and please vote, follow, and share.